I would like to call the Conference Committee on Housing and Homelessness Prevention to order. Today, we are delighted to announce that we have a Conference Committee report, and we will have staff do a walkthrough of the final spreadsheet, and then we'll have time for member questions and comments on the bill overall. So I will pass it off to Dan. Mr. Mueller.
Thank you, Chair Port. I will be walking through the first half of the spreadsheet, and Mr. Harney will take over on the second half. Just to remind folks again, the target for the bill itself was $950 million above the forecast, and for fiscal year 24 and 25, and then $50 million above the forecast in the tails. So I will start walking through the spreadsheet on, it is, I'll go through the columns CC agreement, and then you'll see 3 change columns after that. The first is change versus the forecast. The next column after that is, that's labeled CC minus House. That's Conference Committee compared to the House. And then CC minus Senate is the same for the Conference Committee minus Senate. Starting on line 7, the Challenge Program, increase of $95 million one time. And then within that on lines 8 and 9 are 2 set-asides. Line 8 is $5 million for urban homeworks, and line 9 is Rondo Community Land Trust for $2 million. Next item, line 10, the Workforce Housing Development Program is a one-time increase of $35 million for the biennium. Next, line 11, Manufactured Home Park Infrastructure Grants is a one-time increase of $15 million over the base. Line 12, the Workforce Home Ownership Program is a $20 million increase over the base, one time. Line 13, the Housing Trust Fund is no change to the base, so it remains the base appropriation of $11.646 million per year, no increase. Line 15, homework starts with home. There's an annual increase of $1 million per year ongoing, so that's $2 million for the 24-25 biennium, and then $2 million also in the tails. Similar for the Bridges Rental Assistance Program. Again, this one has a $1 million increase per year, and that is ongoing. Line 17, the Family Homeless Prevention Program, is a one-time $45 million increase and a couple set-asides within that. Line 18, the Landlord Mitigation for $1 million. Line 19, the American Indian Tribes, $10 million. And line 20, the Neighborhood House for $2.4 million. Line 21, the Homeownership Assistance Fund, is a one-time increase of $50 million. The next 3 lines, the Affordable Rental Investment Fund, Owner-Occupied Housing Rehabilitation, and Rental Housing Rehabilitation are all at base levels. There's no change to those. The Homeownership Education, Counseling, and Training, or HECAT, is a one-time increase of $2 million. Line 26, Capacity Building Grants, is a one-time increase of $5 million. And then within that, there is a carve-out for open access voicemail of $170,000 in the one-time carve-out for the Community Stabilization Project of $445,000. Line 30, the Family Stabilization Plan, or Build Wealth, is a one-time $5 million increase, and that is allocated on line 31 for the 9,000 Equities Fund and Stair Step Program. On line 32 is the housing infrastructure, or sort of the Cash for HIBs program. There's $200 million for that one time. And also note that there is no HIBS bonding in this proposal. So there's no HIBS debt service at all. And line 33, I'll turn it over to Mr. Harney.
Madam Chair, beginning on line 33 is a proposal for strengthening the supportive housing model. The amount in the report allows for a $25 million increase. Line 34 is a first-generation homebuyer proposal at the department. The amount in the report is a $50 million one-time allocation. Line 35 is a similar but different community-based first-generation homebuyer program. The amount in the report allocates $100 million one-time in fiscal year 24 for that program. Line 36 is the local housing trust fund grants. The committee report provides $4,800,000 in one-time additional funding on top of the current law $1 million base. Line 37 is the proposal for the Northland Foundation that is being tracked later on the spreadsheet. Line 38 is housing infrastructure grants for Greater Minnesota. A one-time allocation in the committee report is provided for $5 million in fiscal years 24 and 25. Line 39, the housing mediation program. Again, a one-time allocation of $3 million in the committee report is provided in fiscal years 24, 25. Line 40, the manufactured home park cooperative purchase pool has a $10 million one-time allocation in fiscal years 24, 25. Line 41 is another manufactured proposal for home lending grants. The amount provided in the committee report is $10 million one time. Line 42 is the lead safe homes proposal, and the committee report provides $4 million one time in fiscal years 24, 25. Line 43, high-rise sprinkler system grants, $10 million in fiscal years 24, 25, one time. Line 44 is the fee-based home purchasing program proposal. The committee report, again, one-time allocation of $10 million. Line 45 is the community stabilization program for naturally occurring affordable housing. $90 million is agreed to in the committee report, with a carve-out on line 46 for $10 million of that $90 million to be for Huntington Place. And we'll get to this in just a second, but the carve-out for Minneapolis Public Housing Authority is being tracked elsewhere in the spreadsheet on line 47. Line 48 is the rental assistance program, Bring It Home MN. The committee report provides $46 million in fiscal years 24, 25, and $46 million ongoing in the tails. Line 49, home ownership investment grants. The committee report provides $40 million as an allocation to the program one time in fiscal years 24, 25. Line 50, again, this is the standalone appropriation for the Northland Foundation. $1 million one time is provided in the committee report. Line 51, Stable Housing Organization Relief Fund. The committee report provides $50 million one time in fiscal years 24, 25. And on line 52 is a $15 million allocation for the Public Housing Rehabilitation Program, with the $5 million carved out for the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority in the $15 million allocation. Line 54, the Landowner Mitigation Fund was tracked, as Mr. Mueller identified, in FHPAP. Line 55 and line 57 have no change. I will turn to page 2 of the spreadsheet. Madam Chair, beginning on line 62, the committee report provides agreement to the original House position on providing $200,000 one time to MMB for the Emergency Rental Assistance Task Force. On line 64, the previously, the Chapter 20 signed into law earlier this session brings the changes above line 64 plus the changes in Chapter 20 to hit the committee's collective target of $1 billion in 24-25 and $50 million in the tails. You can see that total on line 69. Last but not least, Madam Chair, I will draw the committee's attention to line 76 and 77. The committee report agrees to the imposition of a 2.25% metro sales tax and that deposit and the mechanics into the Housing Assistance Fund is created in the committee report and shown on the spreadsheet here. Madam Chair, that concludes the walkthrough of the spreadsheet. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. And both Chair Howard and I want to thank all the nonpartisan staff and the staff on both of our teams who have worked tirelessly throughout this session, but also the weekend to get us to this point. So thank you very much for your work on this. We'll turn now to member questions and comments on the bill as a whole. Members? Representative Agbaje.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to members of the committee and, of course, staff. We really appreciate your hard work and efforts to getting us to this point. I will want to just commend both Chair Port and Chair Howard for their continued and steadfast dedication to ensuring that more Minnesotans have the ability to have access to housing across the spectrum. We didn't really have a lot of shelter and homelessness issues on our budget, but we definitely had money and funding for affordable housing, particularly for keeping people in their low-income housing or affordable housing, making sure that their rents can get paid, making sure they have access to emergency rental assistance when and if they have a situation that needs to be addressed. And we also put in a lot towards home ownership in a variety of areas. We wanted to make sure that people, once they had the ability to be stabilized, could own their own home. We know that that is one of the ways to building wealth in the United States, and we want to make sure that as many Minnesotans have that opportunity as possible. So I am really grateful for your continued efforts to making sure that that is a major possibility for many people. At the end of the day, we do have a $1 billion target. We did the best that we could to meet everyone's needs. But I do hope that this is a signal to future legislatures in Minnesota that this is the baseline. This is where we should always be starting from, and we should go higher. So thank you again to committee members. Thank you for the robust discussion throughout the session on a lot of areas that we may not have seen eye to eye on, but I think it was helpful to get all that information out. And so with that, I'm glad that we have made it to this point. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Agbaje. Members, other comments, questions? Representative Johnson.
Chair Port, Chair Howard, I'm a little disappointed in this. A week ago tomorrow, we had a walkthrough, and I personally have not heard a single thing until last night at around 10:30 that there was a conference report. Agreed to. Unfortunately, the minority has been shut out completely. No voice, not even asked where some of our priorities are in this $1 billion bill, which actually raises taxes as well. One of the greatest things that's hurting the greatest part of Minnesota outside and even inside the collar counties is workforce housing. With over $1 billion target, the rough numbers on the back of the napkin is only $25 million for workforce housing. That is a disgrace for this committee. It's not helping a large portion of the states and not helping a large portion of the needs of this state. There's roughly 200 million job openings across this state. And the biggest problem that a lot of corporations and areas have is able to find housing for the employees they need, specialized employees. It's a disservice what this conference committee report has done. Now, there's also another issue that this report doesn't cover at all. It's the OLA report that we had earlier this year, dealing with funds to nonprofits. There's roughly $1 billion in this bill that's available for nonprofits. Yes, some of the cities and counties and tribes can have access to it as well, but it's actually available over $1 billion for nonprofits. yet there's no oversight on them. There's no oversight in this bill. There was some things in the original House version that required dealing with fraud and stuff, but that is now missing out of this bill. It's disappointing. This committee is the financial responsibility to the taxpayers of this state. This isn't free money. This is tax dollars that was overpaid by the citizens of Minnesota to the point of $17.5 billion. But there's no oversight. In the Public Safety Committee, I receive reports regularly from different departments across this state on different things to make sure they're doing things properly. But there's very little oversight of the $1 billion that this committee spends in this report. I'm disappointed. We can do better. With that, I'll end it there right now. And just so you're aware, I will not be signing this report.
Chair Howard.
Thank you, Chair Port, and everyone who's here today. This really is an exciting moment, really a historic moment, historic bill. And we get to this place not really by the people at this table, but really by the people who have come to the Capitol over many, many years saying that, you know, we need to do better. We need to show up and realize that everything starts with home for us. And this bill makes historic investments all across the housing continuum, all across the state, statewide. And it is, it's excellent to see it at the 1 yard line here through all the hard work. And there's honestly too many people to thank. Just specifically to Minority Leader Johnson's point on I did want to get on the record for the grant management piece. We understand that the state government bill, you know, throughout the process, each committee has sort of included language. As we understand, there's going to be some broader language in the state government bill relevant to across agencies. And so I just wanted to get that piece on the record. And then I specifically want to thank Commissioner Ho and her team for their work, a lot of work this session, and especially a lot of quick work over the last few days. I think all along there was a lot of alignment in terms of our values, in terms of seizing the moment to go big, so that Minnesotans can go home. Something that we've heard the commissioner say a lot, and you know, it's dangerous to go down the thank you path. So I'll just say I'm so grateful to everyone who's had a hand in this bill, and we very much look forward to moving it forward as soon as we can. Thanks.
I will go a little bit down the thank you path, so I'll try to keep it short. Actually, Senator Mohammed has joined us. Senator Mohammed, do you want to make a few comments on the bill before we sort of wrap?
Here we have a $1 billion deal. No, this is a really good bill. I've been really excited about it ever since it's been put together, and I just want to thank you, Senator Port and Chair Howard and Chair Port, for putting together a really good bill that's comprehensive, but also touches on all the needs that we have. So thank you. I'm really excited to vote yes on it, and to also vote yes on it on the floor and get it done.
Okay. Thank you to both of our committees through the year that got us to this point, to the advocates who worked to put the bills together, but also to bring sort of the human face of what a housing crisis across Minnesota looks like to both of our committees. I think it helped really keep us grounded in the work that we needed to do. And I am grateful to both of our leadership and to the governor for putting a high priority on housing this year, a priority that's never in the history of Minnesota been put on housing, and that our communities desperately need. So, you know, we do have a historic bill, both in one-time funding, but also in the fact that through the Metro sales tax, we add ongoing dedicated funding to housing, which will help us meet the critical ongoing need. We know this is historic with over $600 million to supply, which is absolutely needed, but that is a one-time fix that does not address the ongoing disparities between wages that people are making and the cost of rent in our communities, the wages people are making and the cost of homeownership in our communities. And so that ongoing dedicated funding will help us to really invest in Minnesotans and make sure that they can afford safe, stable housing. I again want to thank the commissioner and the staff at MHFA, all the advocates and the staff here at the Capitol. I think this is a bill we can all walk away from very proud of. Not everybody got everything they wanted, and I think that's a sign of a good compromise. I do especially just want to give a shout out to Senator Mohammed. I think the Bring It Home piece that you have really fought for on the Senate side this year is so critical to this bill, and I'm really proud that we were able to include it. I think it's transformative, and I'm really excited to be able to move this bill to the floor of both of our chambers and sign it into law. And with that, I'll just ask, are there any final comments from members before we adjourn? Thank you all very much for your work, and with nothing further in front of us, we are adjourned.